Welcome everybody to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business Principles for Beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Chancellor Bernard Gleaton, and I just want to take a quick moment just to let you guys know that I really appreciate you guys for checking us out here at the Genesis Project Podcast. Business Principles for Beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. All right. Now, the reason why I'm coming to you guys is because, one, I wanted to let you guys know that I want you to share, like, and comment to spread the word. Spread the word to everybody that you know who is an entrepreneur or who is trying to be an entrepreneur, because we always got something special for them. If they are trying to become successful, we got the keys to success from our guest professors. So it's always good for you guys to spread the word for them to get those keys of success as well. The second thing I wanted to let you guys know is that we now have a store where you can buy ebooks and courses. We have online courses and ebooks to help you become an entrepreneur or take your business to the next level as an entrepreneur. All right. You can check that out at www.genesisprojectpodcast.com. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the classroom so that we can listen to this new lesson that our new guest professor has for us today. So I will see you guys in the hallways. Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. I am your Chancellor, Bernard Gleaton, and this is the School of Hard Knocks. I want to welcome all you guys because I have one of my favorite people in the world coming on to the show, and she is going to be teaching you guys a lesson that she has been trying to teach me for years now. This is my buddy, my pal. I love this girl to pieces. And I'm just really excited to have her come on to the show. Mainly because I've been begging her, I've been stalking her, I've been doing everything a good chancellor is supposed to be doing to bring people onto the show and teach you guys some awesome lessons. So with that being said, let me go ahead and bring in our guest professor today. She goes by the name of Valaise Smith. So guest professor Valaise Smith, say what's up to the class.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Chancellor, for having me on today. It is my pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, I had to do a lot of arm twisting and teeth pulling to get you on here, but you look good, girl.
People that don't tell them.
like I said, I love you to death, and I appreciate you for coming on to the show. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to come onto the show is because, like I teased a little bit, you've been trying to get me situated for a nice long time now. And when I came to you about some of the ideas that I had with my business and even previous businesses, you've always set me on the right path. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to showcase who I got, who is my ace, my ace in the hole right now. So with that being said, I want you to go ahead and tell the class a little bit about yourself and just give us a quick bio.
Well, again, my name is Valaise Smith, and I am the founder and CEO of Tried and True Financial Services. I'm actually a corporatepreneur, so I work during the day and I run my business on the evenings and weekends. However, I have been in the financial services space for over 20 years now, and actually Tried and True Financial Services, we offer bookkeeping, accounting, and income taxes for individuals and small business owners. I've been doing taxes for over 20 years now, and I had some bumps in the roads along the way. Actually, the company that I was working for full time about 5 years ago went out of business. And at that time, I couldn't see myself going out and looking for a new job. And so then I launched the business, Tried and True Financial Services. Again, I've been doing taxes for over 20 years now, but the first 10 or 15 of those years, I really was not doing it as a business endeavor, right? I actually went and learned how to do taxes for my own personal reasons because I am a sponge. I am a student, a lifelong learner, and I always like to learn and grow. And so I went back in the early 90s to take the income tax course just for my own personal reasons because I wanted to learn more about preparing income taxes. Well, that turned into a side gig for me. And then I ended up just working in a couple of tax offices, seasonal, right, during tax season for a few years. And then after that, I said, well, I can kind of do this on my own. And so for many years, I did it just for my family and close friends and only just accepting a love offering. However, when the company that I was working for and have been tenured at for over 10 years went out of business, and like I mentioned, I couldn't see myself going out and looking for a job, I launched Tried and True Financial Services officially. And at that time, at the beginning of 2015, I began to market my services to the masses. And that's how Bernard found me along the way. And that's kind of where I ended up now. So that's just a little bit about me and my background.
A little bit about you and your background. I appreciate that. You know, I did again. I mentioned that I had to pull your teeth, and you definitely pulled my teeth when it came to getting all the paperwork that you needed for my own taxes and for my businesses and things of that nature. So I apologize for that.
That's okay, but it's very important. It's very important in this space. One of the things I mentioned that my background is in financial services, right? But in addition to that, along with that comes a compliance piece. People don't necessarily see tax work as compliance, but that's exactly what it is. And so in order for us to remain compliant as business owners, we definitely have to make sure that we're always dotting our I's and crossing our T's, because a lot of times throughout the process of income tax preparation, we don't necessarily need the documents to send along with the tax forms. However, we always want to be ironclad and audit proof, right? So if in the likely circumstance that the IRS comes knocking on your door, not literally, right, but comes knocking on your door, and they start asking for all of this documentation to prove your deductions, the last thing I ever want to see from my clients is to have their deductions disapproved or disallowed because they don't have the proper documentation. And that's part of the compliance piece that comes along with it, making sure that you're documenting. And there are some areas that are kind of like high profile for audits, like business expenses. Business expenses is a highly auditable area. And so especially when it comes to preparing taxes for some of my small business owners, I really want to make sure that they're in compliance and they're keeping all of their documentation intact so that we can, fly through an IRS audit if that ever comes up.
Ooh, we are definitely going to jump into that a little deeper. So the way I like to ask, or rather the first question I always ask all of my guest professors is, what is your Genesis moment? And before you answer that, let me explain to you, class, what a Genesis moment is. A Genesis moment is when you come to a fork in your road of your life, and you could go right, you could go left. It doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad, but you can see what your life could be like beyond those first steps. So an example of a Genesis moment is me starting the show. That's a Genesis moment. Me getting married. That's another Genesis moment. Me trying out for the CFL, 4 years removed from high school. That is a Genesis moment. So with that being said, guest Professor Valaise, what is your Genesis moment?
Well, my Genesis moment, and I talked a little bit about it in my introduction, but I guess my Genesis moment would be officially launching Tried and True Financial Services, because as I mentioned, I was doing taxes long before I officially launched the business, right?
Mhm.
But interestingly enough, I had been kind of thinking about it, and I actually went to a conference in Atlanta where Steve Harvey was presenting in 2014. And I had kind of been thinking about launching a business. And at that conference, Steve Harvey encouraged those of us that wanted to move forward and make sure that we were living out our dreams and purposes that God had put on the inside of us. He challenged us to jump. And in that process, he had stickers that said, I jumped. Right. And
Mm.
so for everybody who moved forward with the program that he was offering, they got, along with the package, these stickers that said, I jumped. And when I came home, I put that sticker, in the appropriate place, and it said, I jumped. Little did I know, we were going through some challenges in the company that I worked with previously. We were in the midst of litigation, but we had high hopes and beliefs that we were going to come out of that. Well, unfortunately, we didn't. And the company ended up going out of business, and everybody was displaced from the job. So I had no choice. But when God has something for you, it's for you. And so that is my Genesis moment, is when I literally jumped or
Mm.
made the declaration to jump out there, basically jump out the airplane and do what it is that God had placed on the inside of me. And so that was my Genesis moment when I went to that conference, made the declaration that I was going to move forward. And then little did I know, the company did end up dissolving, and I had no other choice but to move forward with Tried and True Financial Services.
That's amazing, because you for those of you who have been with the show for a nice little while now, and even those of you who are brand new to the School of Hard Knocks, one of my Genesis moments is just deciding and just do it, right? And I talked about this before, and I'll say it again. The name of this podcast, the Genesis Project Podcast. Genesis, while this is not a religious podcast, we all have this silent understanding that Genesis is the first book of the Bible, right? So, and you guys heard me explain what the Genesis moment is, but the project piece of the name, I think that we create these big, audacious Goliath of a goal, right? And a lot of times it tends to scare the crap out of us, right? Because we made it so big. We want it, but it scares the crap out of us, right? So I think if we change our perspective for it, just a tad bit, and look at it as if it was a project, it would make things so much easier for us. We now believe that we are able to go out here and conquer these dreams and these goals that we have. For example, if I wanted to paint this office, I know it's going to take me a weekend, right? So if I take that same perspective into my huge, audacious Goliath of a goal, that is something that we are able to attack, we are able to complete, and we are able to put that thing to rest and actually make the jump. So I just want to throw that piece in there. And of course, I commend you for starting your business, because, yeah, like you said, we probably we would have met, but I would have never employed you using your knowledge and your services had you not started your financial business.
Absolutely.
Yes. So with that being said, I want to ask you, why is what is the correct tax setup, or why is the correct tax setup important for businesses? We've all, trying to start a business, but we don't all the way know the tax benefits, or even if we set it up correctly. I want you to explain that.
Well, the short answer is that the correct tax setup is important for your business, because it makes the difference between your dollars sitting in your bank account versus your dollars sitting in the IRS's bank account. And so basically what I mean by that is it simplifies the process to make sure that you're not overpaying in income taxes. The tax law is set and it's put in place for our benefit, especially those that have businesses, particularly small businesses, home-based businesses. There are 475 deductions that's available to those of us that run home-based businesses. Tons of deductions for those of us that are business owners. However, if your business is not structured properly.
Are you tired of dealing with messy spreadsheets and disorganized customer data? Well, say goodbye to the chaos and hello to ConvertKit CRM. Their platform is like a trusty sidekick for your business, helping you manage your customer relationships with ease. Plus, it's so user-friendly, even a clown could use it. No offense to the clowns out there. So, why wait? Try ConvertKit CRM today and watch your customer management skills go from the circus to top notch. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
Then you could possibly be leaving money on the table or literally leaving money in the IRS's hands as opposed to in your bank account that would allow you to continue to grow and scale your business and take it to the next level that you are trying to do.
And you know, when you were saying that, you know, I'm a hip hop fan, you know. Nas said, people fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. I guess that's just a theory of men, you know. And he goes on or whatever, and that came to my mind because we tend to be afraid of taxes and IRS and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And I will even go out on the limb and be transparent to say that scared the bejesus out of me. And thank God I found you.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, it's a common fear. It is a common fear. You know, it's been said that there are two certainties in life: death
and
taxes. Right? A lot of us are afraid to die, and a lot of us are afraid to pay our taxes. But the reality of it is like you said, this may not be a religious podcast, but you know, you and I both know that we are believers and that we are brothers and sisters in the body of Christ. And so make no mistake about understanding and knowing that the word of God tells us about death and taxes in the word. It's in the word, you know, and it in the word of God as it pertains to taxes says to render unto Caesar what's due to Caesar. And so taxes is not a bad thing. And when you don't know, that's why you have people surrounding you that do know, that they're strong where you're weak, you know, where you can enlist them to hire them to assist you. You know, we talked a little bit about, and maybe this is a whole nother conversation, right, about setting up the proper structure for your business. Making sure that you have the proper business structure is one of them. And then making sure that you have professionals. There's a certain list of professionals that you need to make sure that you have on your team when you're running a business, right? So for you, your specialty is kind of like IT, right? I don't know anything about IT, right? I know taxes. And so you're there to help me with my IT issues because I have no idea, you know, I would be stuck like Chuck, you know, not knowing what to do next when it comes to IT. And so that's why, you know, you have those relationships that you build, your business network, to make sure that you don't have to shy away from the things where you're weak at. And taxes is one of them. A lot of people are afraid of taxes. They don't understand it. It seems overwhelming. It's confusing. And it is. It to be totally transparent, the tax code is very daunting, even for those tax professionals. You know, we spend hours, and that's why, you know, when we roll out our tax schedule, our fee schedule, right? there's no room for a negotiation, because we have to put our heads down and spend hours and hours and hours digging into those tax codes, understanding those tax codes, spending time with continuing education, credentials, in the industry, to make sure that we're qualified and that we understand and we know how to service those clients when they come through our doors. And so that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. This is my specialty. This is my niche. This is my passion. It's my business. It's my business to care about and make sure that you all are not overpaying in your taxes. That's my business.
Are you tired of spending hours trying to create a sales funnel that actually converts the sales? Well, say goodbye to the headaches and hello to Drop Funnels. Their platform makes it easy to create professional, high-converted sales funnels with just a few clicks. And the best part, it's so intuitive, even a 3-year-old could use it. Not that we recommend you getting a 3-year-old to run your business. So why wait? Give Drop Funnels a try and watch your sales soar to new heights. Check it out at our resources page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources. With that, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, what are some misconceptions about business setups that we, as wannabe entrepreneurs or trying to be entrepreneurs and business owners, what are those misconceptions that we tend to get wrong?
I think the major misconception that I hear people getting wrong a lot of times, well, I'm going to go with two of them. I'm going to talk a little bit about two of them.
Okay.
One of them is related to LLC versus S Corp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've had some people come to me and say, hey, well, I need to get set up as an S Corp, or I'm already set up as an S Corp. And when I ask them why, they can't really articulate it and explain that to me. And it's because someone told them that it's in their best interest. Not someone like a tax professional, not someone like a tax attorney, not someone like a business entity attorney, just someone, told them that it would be in their best interest to structure their business as an S Corp. But there's a lot of nuances that go into making that determination. And so that's just not something that you make off the cuff, a decision that you make off the cuff as far as business structure. A lot of things have to go into it from a legal standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, as well as from a tax standpoint. So that's one of the misconceptions about business setup that we get wrong. The other misconception, huge misconception that I see happen so much is 1099 versus W-2.
Okay, come on with it. I knew you was going to go there.
Employing an independent contractor versus an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Someone being on payroll versus you subcontracting the work out. And one of the misconceptions with that is a lot of times, because there is an administrative burden that comes along with payroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times people don't want to hire employees because they don't want to do all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They'll just rather say, well, this person is, I'm going to just get them a 1099. A lot of times they don't even understand the correlation between issuing a 1099 and being an independent contractor. Mm-hmm. But the IRS is very intentional about laying out how to determine how you classify someone as an employee versus an independent contractor. You can't just decide that you're not going to put someone on payroll and issue them a 1099.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of facts and circumstances that go into making that decision. So that's another one of the huge misconceptions about business setup and how we operate our businesses that I see happening today.
And that brings up a question that I didn't think to ask you before, right? With us going through this pandemic and everything like that, obviously there's a lot of, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of people who's losing their jobs, and it's somewhat forcing them to go and work for Uber or Lyft or maybe even Amazon, as drivers, or Grubhub, and things of that nature, right? So as a business, how can we utilize or set up those type of services uh, as contractors, or how can we best set them up if our business try to use Grubhub, for example? How can we set that up? Do we set them up as an employee or as a contractor?
Well, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of facts and circumstances that go into that. And it really it needs to be handled on a case by case basis. So I would encourage your listeners, the students in the School of Hard Knocks, to make sure that you're talking and having that conversation with your tax professional before you delve into it, so that you know what you're getting into, you know what your situation is, and you know what's, all of the necessary legalities that's associated with it. Because like I mentioned before, it's not kind of just a one-off situation or a decision that you get to decide any, mini, miny, mo, and decide, I'm going to do this in this situation, or I'm going to do that in that situation. You really need to take a holistic view of the situation and all of the facts and circumstances to make a determination if what you're doing or the people that you employ are actually employees or can be considered 1099 independent contractors. An independent contractor, just generally speaking, is someone, the name represents it, right? They're independent. They get to decide when they come and go. They're not on a structured schedule. Right? They're coming and they're bringing their own equipment and tools and supplies. They're independent. They're doing their thing their own way. Right? But when there's guidelines and rules and regulations that need to be followed, that's a little bit of a red flag to make you think that maybe this may be an employment type situation, if there's a lot of structure associated with the requirements of the job at hand. However, if this individual has the ability to kind of flow freely, come and go as they will, show up or not, then there may be some likelihood that they could be classified as a 1099 employee. But again, there's a lot of additional facts and circumstances that have to be looked at in order to make that solid decision.
And just out of curiosity, because I didn't jot this down as a question to ask you, what is your thoughts on the whole gig economy in general?
Well, it's definitely growing, the gig economy, and I think that's why they kind of wrote that in the provision for the PPP loans, because they realize that there's a lot of people out there that are acting as independent contractors. They're doing their own thing on their own terms, their own way. And so while again, that PPP loan was really geared towards businesses that have employees or W-2 people, right? They realize that there's still people out there that's making a living as independent contractors. They may not necessarily have employees or be classified as an employee themselves, but this is their living. This is how they're earning their living. And so they have to create some rules and regulations around that to kind of include them in that process.
You mentioned something about the PPP loan, and again, this is another question I didn't think about to jot down until you mentioned it now. But in just for some clarification, right? For those of you who are in the class, the PPP loan is the government trying to help all of us in somewhat of a bailout, I guess you could say, when it comes to us dealing with this pandemic. So with that explanation out of the way, are you able to tell us who qualifies for the PPP loan? Because as the date of this recording, they are talking about giving us the second round of PPP loans and things of that nature. So can you talk about who qualifies for that?
So the PPP loan was originally implemented to help small businesses. Small businesses, as defined by the Small Business Association, was any business with 500 or fewer employees, as well as it was geared towards people who had payroll, right? And so as long as your business was implemented or was active, I believe it's been a little while since I've actually looked at the dates, but I want to say that as long as your business was it was active by February of 2019. Don't quote me on that date, but there was a specific date that your business had to have been created, right? And it was before they released or opened up the PPP window, right? What they didn't want to happen is to have people going and saying, oh, well, these loan proceeds or grants are available for business owners, so I'm going to go and start a business so that I can apply for these funds.
Mm-hmm. Are you tired of drowning in a sea of receipts and invoices? Well, it's QuickBooks to the rescue. Their accounting software is like a life raft for small business owners. It helps you stay organized, track your finances, and helps you make smart business decisions. Plus, it's so easy to use, even a sloth can learn it. Not that we're calling you slow, but sloths are notoriously chill. So why wait? Give QuickBooks a try and start selling smoothly through the world of business. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
You had to have already been, and I said 2019, but the pandemic started in 2020. So I want to say that it was February. It was a February of 2020 date.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good use. That's good and useful information there. So, with all of that, right? I know we've talked about some tax strategies and things of that nature, right? So I want to know, why do entrepreneurs not take tax strategies seriously? I mean, we've seen, unfortunately, we heard about the president, Trump or what have you, in office, and he's taught. We know about his strategies and loopholes of getting around taxes, and I often find people getting upset about that. But as a business owner, I'm like, well, yeah, you could do the same thing too if you start your business and things of that nature. But why is it that some entrepreneurs and business owners don't take tax strategies so seriously?
Man, Chancellor, that is the $1 million question. And it's one that I personally would love to know the answer to. However, if I had to give you my opinion about why they don't take it seriously, I think it's a combination of reasons why they don't. Number one is out of ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in a bad way, but they just don't know. And they don't know what they don't know. And so they're overwhelmed by it. Number two, they're overwhelmed by the tax law and the tax strategies. They're frustrated. It frustrates them. It makes them mad when they think about the fact that they're out there giving their blood, sweat, and tears to earn these dollars, to take care of their families. And then the government wants such a large chunk of it. So I believe that they don't take it seriously because they feel like it's unfair. They feel like it's overwhelming. They feel like it's unfair. I think it's a combination of reasons why they don't take it seriously. And excuse me. And then the other part about it is that they don't know who to trust. And in this business that I work in, it is so important as a business owner yourself. I'm sure you've heard that one of the main things that you have to ensure when you're working with your clients, your book of business. And one of the things that we learned early on is that people want to know, like, and trust you.
Mm-hmm.
When they're going to decide to do business with you, they need to know, like, and trust you. And that couldn't be more important, especially in my business, the know, the like, and the trust. Because I'm
Yeah.
dealing with very sensitive information. People have to give me everything except their fingerprint
Mm-hmm.
in order
Mm-hmm.
for me to do what I need to do to prepare their test. They have to give me, and they have to be transparent. And sometimes people don't feel comfortable with just opening up. You know what I'm saying? And being naked in front of their tax professional because a lot of times they're embarrassed
Mm-hmm.
how, how they're running their shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to find someone that they know, that they like, and that they trust before they'll open up and divulge. So because they're not educated about these tax strategies and they're not ready to open up and share with someone else, then they just avoid it.
Mm. I think that it, it makes me think about the comment that Dave Chappelle made uh when it came to voting in his last election, right? If you've seen his special, he talked about if I could be so transparent, he talked about how he was in line to vote and the white people, because he was from Ohio and he's I guess he's from the countryside of Ohio, and he was saying that the white people would say, "Oh yeah, you know, he's fighting for me," and Dave Chappelle said, "No, you idiot, he's fighting for me because I got the money." You know, that's not to say that he wasn't fighting for everybody, but that's just goes to show that, you know, if you like you mentioned earlier, if you get the right people, the right team around you to keep you abreast on everything that's going on, that will help you to make these informed decisions, man, you know, you wouldn't be there getting upset when you know when it comes to the tax breaks that, you know, the wealthy get, or, you know, the entrepreneurs and businesses get, and stuff like that, because you will be taking part of some of those breaks yourself if you was to start your business and try to sell something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So
Agree.
staying on this pandemic train, I want to ask you, how are entrepreneurs dealing with their taxes within the COVID situation and everything like that? I don't know if you had the opportunity to actually kind of dive into it yet, or what are your predictions to it, maybe?
Predictions is a good word, because I was just going to say, well, that kind of remains to be seen, right? We're just
Mhm.
entering in. We just closed out 2020, and we're just entering in to the official start of the tax season. And so it'll be interesting to see how they're going to handle their taxes with this COVID pandemic going on, if they actually show up in a timely fashion and bring their documents to get the process started to filing their taxes, or if they're going to kind of hide behind it, especially those that took out the PPP loans, if they'll be diligent with regard to filling out the application for forgiveness, and how the tax professional community will be able to assist them with that. I'm hoping that people will be diligent, even more diligent than they have in times past, because I believe that if COVID-19 hasn't taught us anything else, it should have taught us that we need to be very calculated and very intentional about how we're running our business. And when I say business in that regard, I don't necessarily mean those of us that are running an official business, but I'm talking about taking care of your financial affairs, handling your business, period.
Mhm.
And handling your business, even from an individual standpoint, for those of us that are employees and then we work a job and we receive W-2s, handling your business, making sure that you're keeping all of your documentation in place. Like, for instance, there's going to be some paperwork that's going to come out that's associated with the stimulus checks that were sent off. And
Mhm.
you're going to need to take that documentation or provide it to your tax professional when it's time to get your taxes done. I don't know if everybody knows and understands that, if they even read the letter that came along or came after they received their checks, or if they're aware that they need to watch their mailboxes for documentation that's going to show how much money they received from the stimulus, not necessarily because they're required to pay taxes on it, but the way that they structured that tax law was like the stimulus was a an advance tax credit that everyone was entitled to. So while you won't be required to pay any taxes on that money, you will be required to document it on your tax return.
That is something that I didn't consider, which is another reason why I'm glad that you came onto the show, so that you could enlighten me and give me more information on that. Man, so I know that there is a lot of traps out here for entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to the financial situation and what have you. I want to know what type of traps should us as entrepreneurs be concerned about?
What type of traps?
Yeah.
I think one of the main traps that you should be concerned about is listening and taking bad advice. That's one of the main things that I think that you should be concerned about, because like I kind of mentioned before, a lot of times people are sitting around having conversations about taxes and their personal situations. But when I tell you your tax return and your tax situation is as unique to you and your family as the house that you live in as it is your neighbor's. Your neighbor's house is not exactly like yours. There may be some similarities, right? But it's different. And so is your tax situation. While there may be some similarities in tax laws or tax credits or tax deductions from one person to the next, everybody's situation is unique, depending on how many kids they have, depending upon how old their children are, depending upon how much money you made, depending upon how much withholding you had, depending upon how much revenue you earned in your business, depending upon how much of a loss they took in their business. Like, there's so many moving parts and so many different variables that no one situation is the same. So I think one of the main traps entrepreneurs should be concerned about is listening to and taking the advice of their neighbor rather than their professional.
Are you tired of being bogged down by HR tasks? Well, it was Gusto to the rescue. Their HR software is like a superhero for small business owners. It helps you manage payroll, benefits, and HR compliance with ease. Plus, it's so simple to use, even a penguin can figure it out. Not that penguins are known for their business savvy, but you know, they are pretty smart birds. So why wait? Give Gusto a try and watch your HR tasks melt away like ice cream on a hot summer day. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources. Ooh, I think that's good information right there. Class, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're taking a lot of great notes, because she's dropping a lot of gems that I gotta be honest, I didn't know half this stuff. So so I hope you guys are learning just like I am learning. You know, with so much that's going on, right? I want to ask you, what is, well, first let me ask you this. I know you got an online course that you are working on. I want you to talk about your online course and what that would cover.
Well, the online course that I am working on is still in the process, so I can't necessarily reveal exactly all of what it's going to be, because what I am in the process of, the one question earlier about why people don't file their taxes or why people stray away from it, is one of the things that I need to survey the audience to find out exactly what it is, because I have a wealth of knowledge. I have a wealth of information in my arsenal bag. And what I want to do is make sure that I'm not overwhelming people with the knowledge that I have and making them shy away, because the ultimate goal for my online course is going to be to educate people, to put them in a better position in this space as it concerns their finances, not necessarily specific to tax, but if there's other information or knowledge that I have that I could put in that course that will help someone else out, to bless them, to take them to the next level, I want to be able to do that. So I'm still in a kind of like beta testing mode to find out, surveying, trying to find out exactly what it is the people need to help them, to benefit them, so that I can roll that out and kind of share that knowledge.
Man, I'll be the first to say that I'm excited about your online course. I'm slightly afraid, but I would be man enough to say that I would take it even amongst my fear.
That's the one thing about it. As all of us as business owners, even myself, we all deal with fear in some regard or another. But one of the things that was said to me that I've heard early on that was really profound, that I've taken with me and it has stuck with me, is that we have to acknowledge the fear and do it scared.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is that's holding you back, that's keeping you bound, that you're afraid of, you have to embrace that fear and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say that if you need help with your course, whether it's structuring it or just putting it together in general, I would be more than happy to lend my knowledge to you, because if the class don't know, and some of you probably already do know, I do have an online course that would teach people how to start their business, how to go from idea to incorporate it in less than 24 hours. So if you need some help, I'm here for you. Let me know.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I take all help that's given to me, because we need each other.
Yeah. I need you. Well, I was going to say I need you more than you need me, but that might be wrong. We definitely need each other. Yes, I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Now, with everything that's going on, I know that this road of entrepreneurship has not been the easiest, as well as it probably shouldn't be, right? But I want to know, what's the one thing you wish you knew before you became an entrepreneur?
Wow, that's a great question. What's the one thing I wish I knew before becoming an entrepreneur? The one thing that I wish I knew is that everybody is not my ideal client.
Oh, please preach that one more time.
Help everybody. As much as I have the spirit to help as much as I can, I had to come to the realization that I can't help everybody. And that's the one thing I wish I had known before I became an entrepreneur.
That is a major jump. That's something that us in the class have to highlight 2-3 times, with multiple colors.
And that's why a lot of us, we have to implement a discovery process in our onboarding process. You need to meet with people that express an interest to secure your services, to find out if it's a match for the both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because any business relationship that you enter into, I would imagine that it's going to be an ongoing relationship, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to need and want to work well together. And if you find that you have come across some individuals that for whatever reason, you don't work well together, then it's best that you cut your losses in the beginning and just send them on. Because the reality of it is that there's enough business out here, even for those of us that's in the same industry. There's enough business out here for us all to get to eat.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's no need for us to be concerned about competition and things of that nature, because everybody is not designed to work with everybody. There's a lot of other factors that come into it, and the relationship aspect of it to make the determination whether it's a good fit or not. Yeah. And if it's not, that's okay, because there's someone else that offers these same services that may be well suited for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think you've definitely hit on. You definitely said something powerful there. Somebody once told me that once you become an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to say the word no. And even though you might be starting off and you want to take all the opportunities that you could get, as soon as you learn the power of no, you start realizing everything goes uphill from there. You know what I mean? Because you saying no will start. Will start this chain of events of, you know, the bad clients, you know, the bad deals and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And that was one of the main pieces of advice that I still hold to today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm, powerful,
Yeah.
powerful. So with it has to be hard to deal with the home life as well as an entrepreneur, as well as being an entrepreneur. But I want to know, how do you find the balance between the two?
Woo! You pulling it all out of me today. Woo! Now that is something, work-life balance is something that I have been struggling with for a long time. And because I'm very sensitive to work-life balance, it's some knowledge and some nuggets that I've often pursued trying to figure it out. But one thing I did find out is that recently I heard, and I don't know if I'm going to quote it right, but the gist of it is that it's a work in progress. It's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be a work in progress. I don't think that there's a final destination to work-life balance. But for me, one of the things that I do is I categorize my time.
Mm-hmm.
I live by a calendar. And so nine
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Because once I've created my calendar and I have my to-do list and I've checked those things off of my to-do list, I shut down. I go into rest mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, especially being a corporatepreneur, working a day job and then managing a business on evenings and weekends, I have to be very intentional about categorizing my time. So I don't take business calls when I'm at my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm working in my business, I'm not taking calls from corporate.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cutoff for corporate to be able to contact me. I have to guard my space,
Mm.
protect my space. And then when I have time carved off for me, that's just what it is. I'm not taking calls from anyone because this is my time. And the one thing that really works well for me is to get those things that are very important to me out of the way at the beginning of my day. So my
Mm-hmm.
time with God is very important to me. So I start my day with prayer. That's one of the first things I do in the morning. That way I'm free from distractions. I'm not worried about my phone ringing at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then workout is very important to me. Working out, it used to be at the bottom of my list, but I had a health scare last year that caused me to realize I thought I was doing a good job of taking care of me, but I realized that I wasn't doing as good of a job as I thought I was. So then I had to reprioritize some things and I had to put me back at the top of the list. So
Mm-hmm.
second to prayer is my workout time. Now, that fluctuates a little bit because especially in the summertime, I like to go out midday while I'm working and go out for a walk. And so maybe I won't do it first thing in the morning. But what I found out about that workout time is if I don't do it in the morning and if I don't get it in at lunchtime, it gets harder to do as my day progresses. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
an evening workout kind of person, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I have to be very intentional about how I carve out my time to make sure that I find balance with that. And it's an ongoing chore.
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. If you're a coach or expert or soon to be coach and or expert, the Chancellor is granting you a chance to get a free client getting authority website. You heard me correctly, free. Get a professional design where there's no code, no tech, it's easy to update, and is crafted to convert. You'll probably wonder what's the catch, right? Well, there is none. Our sponsor, Drop Funnels, want to make sure that you get off to an amazing start by creating and giving you a free website. Do you want a free website? Sure you do. Go to genesisprojectpodcast.com/free funnel, and I will see you guys in the hallways. You know, as you was speaking on all of that, a few things popped in my mind, but I'm just going to speak on one thing. I know about your health scare. Are you willing to talk about your health scare?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And even early on, I never, and I know a lot of times people will wait until after the storm to talk about it, but I talked about it at the beginning of my storm because I needed my prayer warriors on the battlefield with me. But in February of 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to put everything on hold at that time because I had to take care of me. But because of the seriousness of that diagnosis, I wanted to educate myself as much as possible. So I didn't rush into the solutions that the doctors presented me with. I wanted to do my own research. I wanted to do my own homework, and I wanted to get multiple opinions about the treatment plan that they were recommending for me. But I did end up in July. I was diagnosed in February. It wasn't until July that I had my surgery. I did have a lumpectomy and 20 rounds of radiation between July and September of 2019. So then at that time, it really required me to reassess where I was at in my life and what I was doing and what mattered most. And so at the end of the day, it wasn't my corporate job. It wasn't my business, Tried and True Financial Services. It wasn't any of those things, but it was the people that I have around me, that my family and my friends that I love, that is what matters most to me. And so then I had to prioritize that as well. And so I did that, and I took the necessary time that I needed to rest and heal and rejuvenate myself, and slowly reacclimated myself to the daily activities of life. But right in the first quarter of 2020, then COVID happened. And while I haven't been directly impacted by COVID, I think we all have been impacted by COVID globally.
Yeah.
Right?
I do recall.
Issues. Yeah.
I do recall, when you was going through, I was one of those people that you was comfortable enough telling about your health issues and things of that nature. So I do appreciate you for being transparent and actually talking about that.
Well, I definitely had to talk to my clients because, again, the diagnosis came in February. That was right in the midst of tax season. So I have to tell my clients so that I can get some grace from them and understanding and knowing that things might be going a little bit slower than normally, because I had some other things that I needed to deal with. But I appreciate I did not lose any clients. I did not cause any grief for my clients as far as making their tax filings late or anything like that. It all worked out. God really showed up and blessed in the midst of that storm.
Staying on that same path there, I want to know, what is the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur?
Wow, the biggest mistake that I have made.
I don't know if you noticed, but I like asking these tough questions to you.
That's okay. That's okay. And I think this question is going to be very similar
Mm-hmm.
to another question that you asked. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made as an entrepreneur is not following my onboarding process and not vetting the people that come to me and say that they need my help, because I had this desire to want to help everyone. And so I pretty much took whoever said they needed my help, then I offered it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the process of that, I have had to offboard some clients. And
Mm-hmm.
it was tough and it wasn't a good feeling, but it needed to be done. And
Yeah.
so I take responsibility for that, because had I went through the rigid and thorough onboarding process the way that I know that I should have, then I wouldn't have encountered some of the challenges that I had.
Mm. Mm. Well, with that being said, I also want to know what is something personal that you want the class to know about you that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia. Because I know you, try to surprise me with something that you think I don't know about you.
I got one for you.
Okay, come on with it.
I got one for you. And I'm going to tie it to business. But
Okay,
in high school, I was a cheerleader.
not surprised.
I cheered for the Redford Huskies for several years throughout my high school years. And
Okay.
there was a light bulb moment that went on for me the other day, where I was doing some introspection and some soul searching, because I am an entrepreneur. I am a person that loves to see everybody win. I want to see everybody win. And I think that's one of the reasons why I would always try to help everybody that came my way for help, because
Mm-hmm.
deep down inside of me, I'm a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
I love to cheer people on. I'm a behind the scenes kind of girl. I think that kind of ties into my passion and my knack for the income tax stuff, and maybe we can relate to that, because I know your industry is considered kind of geeky.
Yeah.
And income tax can be that way, or tax compliance, or any kind of compliance can be known that way. People don't necessarily, it's not a kind of like glamorous type of, you know, um, career, if you will. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And so for that reason, I think that a lot of times I like to be behind the scenes. And so I would rather someone else be out front, and then I'll cheer them on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not surprised about the whole cheerleader thing, but for those of you who don't know what Redford High School is, she's talking about a high school within the city of Detroit, Michigan. If I remember correctly, your colors is something like crimson and silver, or something like that, right?
Sweet, sweet red and white. Sweet, sweet red and white. Okay.
Yep. Okay. My bad.
Red and white.
My bad. My mistake. I apologize.
That's all right.
Well, you've dropped so many great bombs today, and again, I'm so thankful for you taking the time out of your busy day to come on to the show and talk about these things. But I want to know, what is the one takeaway that you want the class to leave with this lesson?
People that fail to plan to fail. Tax planning is a very critical aspect of your financial package. Tax planning and tax preparation is two different things. So make sure that you make space in your calendar, in your busy calendar, to sit down with the financial professionals that you've put on your team to help you manage that piece of your business that may not necessarily be your strong suit or what you want to focus on.
Mm.
And tax planning is a very critical aspect. Taxes is not a one-time It's not an annual event. It's an ongoing event. And so before you make financial decisions for your business, make sure that you sit down and talk to your tax professional, your accountant, your CPA, or whomever it is that you've hired on your finance team to assist you with making sure that your books are in order.
That's great information. And that is the perfect segue for me to tell you, or for me to tell the class where they can find you. Class, you can find guest Professor Valaise Smith at triedandtruefs.com, or you can email her at info@triedandtruefs.com. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at triedandtruefs, or Valaise Smith on IG, Facebook, and she also has a YouTube page. So you can look her up on YouTube as well. With all of that being said, again, I appreciate you. I love you for coming on to the show. And, I got big things in store for you later on, and, all this type of stuff.
All right. Well, that's good to know.
Well, class, you've heard this awesome lesson, and you've heard why you need to take this whole tax thing seriously. And this is my girl. This is a person that I know, trust, and who gets me together when I'm falling off on business wise and financial wise. But to you, class, you know what I say around this time. You've heard everything. You've took all the notes. The only thing for you to do now is to jump, like guest Professor Valaise mentioned earlier. It's time for you to jump. So in everything you chase after, in everything that you go after, make sure you chase it with violent action. Class has concluded, and I will see you guys in the next one. About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more. Greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people toward that greatness with the guest professor that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. In everything you do, everything that you chase after it with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.